Alright, so today is Friday the 13th.
Spoopy!
And for those of you who are at home, maybe, not playing here with us, we just chatted about how on February 11th, there will be a penumbral, I might be mispronouncing that, lunar eclipse, which should be pretty sweet.
Excuse this interruption. If Jacqueline Moreno was in the building, please come to the office. Jacqueline?
Alright. Did you find the notes? Alright, anyone else need the notes from yesterday?
No, but does that have anything to do with the pendulum? Like the thing that goes
I
back and
don't know. Do some research.
It kind of sounds like it.
But it's like penumbral as opposed to pendum, like, so I don't know. It's penumbral instead of pendum, like pendulum. I doubt it, but I can't speak definitively unless like somebody does some research. So, did we get through the elephant problem?
No, we only did this.
Yeah, we just looked at the bottom thing, right? Friday, February 13th. Or, sorry, January 13th. It is Friday the 13th.
Spoopy.
So, an elephant drinks at least... Are we going to chill? Like, I got side conversations going on that I don't know why. Luck is not a real thing. You make your own luck. An elephant drinks at least 70 liters of water. So let's underline that at least. That tells us what we're doing. You might want to get back out your 10 or 9-1 notes if you can't remember what at least is going to tell me to do. So go ahead and verbally write the inequality for drinks at least 70. So we're going to set this up with drinks. If it's at least, what do we use for at least? Aiden, do you know what inequality symbol we use for at least? Equal or greater. Because it could be 70, or they could drink more. Any questions on why we use that for at least? Because that's the minimum amount that you can drink. And if you want a reference point for that, this is a liter. Humans should be drinking 2 of these a day. An elephant drinks 70 or more. So now, let's look at what else. Each trunkful holds 4 liters of water. And they ask us to solve for how many trunkfuls. So how they're drinking is through their trunk, right? So every trunkful is 4. So what about 3 trunkfuls? How much water would that be? Saul? 12. How'd you figure that out? Yeah, so 4 times the amount of trunkfuls, right? So instead of drinks, we can replace that with what? 4.
Times 7. No. Yeah.
Do we know how many trunkfuls they're drinking? T. We want to use a variable because we don't know yet. So set that up.
I can barely see that box. I didn't realize there was a box there.
And then I just shuffled and Aiden, you ended up back on top again.
Yeah.
Piper, what do I do to get the T by itself? Yeah, divide by 4 on both sides. Now, because I divided by a positive, nothing weird happens. I just have T is greater than or equal to. Break this up. Somewhere, jot down 60 plus 10. And we're going to divide the 60 by 4, and we're going to divide the 10 by 4. 60 divided by 4, how many, like, what thing fits into 64 times? Brady?
Wait, never mind. Wait. I'm thinking. Oh, is it
15.
15, thank you. So this actually becomes 15. A lot of weight, hold on. Plus 10 divided by 4 is 2.5. Because think about it, 2.5, 4 times would make your 10. So we add those together, and this becomes 17.5. So the amount of trunkfuls or the amount of times they fill their trunk, is 17.5 times or more. Because T could be equal to 17.5 or could be more than 17.5.
Where did we get the 60 from?
Oh,
60
we
plus
broke up
10.
70
Oh, okay.
so that we could divide it, because 70 doesn't divide easily by 4. So I broke it into 60 and 10, because 60 can divide by 4 and 10 can divide
I
by
think
4.
I realized that when I tried to do it in my head, and I was 1 off.
Yeah, if we want to do it in our head, we got to do something to make the numbers
I
easier
got
to work with.
16.5, so I didn't split it up.
Okay, well, that should have captured my board needs oriented again. So try to set up this got it. We know what a mouse drinks in a week. At least highlight what's important. But we want to figure out how much that mouse drinks in a day. We know how much the mouse drinks in a week. So again, we have, this is weird. I just found the little bit piece of a broken off pencil like clip thing. I don't know how it flew all the way up here. So again, we have drinks, right? We know drinks or drink at least 0.042. Now, this seems like a really small number, but what's the label on this number?
Liters.
Liters. So they could have made it easier if they used milliliters, but if we want to talk about what that looks like, 400ths of a liter, this amount up to my thumb. So you see up to my thumb? That's 1/10 of a liter. So take that amount, that little disc of water in the bottom, divide that by 10 again, and that would be 100. So they're drinking about 400ths, a little over, because that too, but about 400ths of a liter every week. Not very much water, but they're
But
amounts.
they're tiny.
So if it's at least, Brady, you know what symbol goes in here?
Oh, no, I was just asking, is that actually what's at the radio that you did?
Yeah, this bottle is a liter. Like if you go all the way up to, it's got markings on the side. They're just kind of hard to see because it's old. So if you go all the way up to this marking, that's a liter, right about where my water level is right now. And it's got markings all the way down for 900 milliliters, 800 milliliters, 700. So it breaks it up by milliliters, but it is a liter bottle.
Okay.
So if it's drink at least, it could be equal, or, Ellie? Ooh. Especially if we're talking about hydration. Do you think you want to drink a certain amount or less? Yeah, so it's they drink greater than
But
or
there's a
equal
problem.
to.
You have to divide it because it's,
So what are we gonna substitute here
you substitute the drink
with
7.
7?
Divide by 7.
How, like we have to set it up to let me divide by 7.
Okay.
So you got to tell me what we're subbing in for drinks, because I agree with you. We need to figure out how much they drink in a day, and this is for a week. So why are you using 7?
Because there's 7 days in a week.
Because there's 7 days in a week. So, but if I just put 7 over here, this isn't accurately communicating what I'm trying to say. I said there's 7
No, days.
days. So we want to say there are 7. This is going to be how much water they drink per day. RD. Do not touch a calculator. Just like Josh said, we want to divide by 7 here. Make your life easy. What's 42 divided by 7? 6. Then, be careful though. That was 42 thousandths. It has to be 6 thousandths. So when we write this out, d is greater than or equal to, it's 0.006. That's where people will make their mistakes. If this was 42 thousandths, this has to be thousandths. So whatever my result was, it's got to go in that decimal place. And then that is liters per day. So if we want to talk about 6 thousandths of a liter, you would take this disc of water up to my finger, divide it by 100, and then look at only 6 of them. Now, the mouse could drink more, but this is like a minimum so they can survive. Again, because I would be remiss if I did not say this, to stay properly hydrated.
What's remiss?
Like I would be sad, or like I should have done it. Like when you think back and you're like, oh man, I missed that opportunity. So I would be remiss if I did not mention, you guys, especially as you're going through puberty and everything, need lots of water. Most Americans, actually most people, are operating in a state of dehydration. Dehydration causes irritability, causes confusion, causes lack of focus. The best thing you can do for yourself is drink water. So that's why I have this much coffee per day, and then I switch over to water. So the best thing you guys can do is drink water and avoid pop, because pop dehydrates you like crazy. Yeah. Every time you drink a soda, you need to drink like 3 glasses of water. I think it's even more than that to compensate the amount of sugar that was in that soda, because sugar dehydrates you.
Do you always drink ice?
No, I just put ice in it this morning because I'm kind of warm. And I just feel warm. So, coffee, just cold.
Really?
Ella?
I want to say about that coffee that you were saying. How actually is enough sugar for one bottle of pop? Is enough sugar to last you 1 month?
Yeah, like what your body actually needs. Yeah, and the problem with the sugars in pop, too, is your body can't process the sugar because it's not natural sugar. So a lot of it ends up being stored because it can't be processed. Like when you eat a banana or like you eat an orange, that's natural sugar that your body processes because it's good for you. That sugar's good. The sugar in soda is like fake, created in a lab sugar. Your body can't process it as well. So, moving on, just like equations, except I need you to highlight, and if you don't have a highlighter, get one. This value is negative. My k is being divided by the negative value. Right now, at least, that's what's happening. If I'm out, you guys might need to share with neighbors around you.
Good morning. Please pardon the
Starting to run
interruption.
low.
If anyone is missing a black pair of prescription glasses, please stop by the office. Again, we have a black pair of Foster Grant prescription glasses.
Have fun, Leah.
Thank you.
Hey, can you see to get down there?
Yes.
I'm just joking. So, k is currently being divided by -4. How, Josh, would we be able to undo that?
Well, we could divide by k.
So we want to get k by itself, right? And the problem kind of shows me, at the end, I get k alone. K kind of rides along through the... How? What?
Divide by 1.
What is happening? So at the first step, I think you're overthinking this. What's happening? Forget about all this, because I think this might be confusing. What's happening up here to k? What's being done to
K
it?
is being divided by negative.
It's being divided by -4. How do I stop or undo that?
Would you multiply?
We would multiply because it's the inverse operation. So right here, please make a multiplication symbol. And right over here, make a multiplication symbol. But when we multiply by the negative, and please notate that we're multiplying by a negative,
Doesn't it subtract?
not quite. What did we talk about yesterday? If you need to flip to the front at the bottom, we discussed the one difference between this and equations. Carolyn?
You need to put the less than sign.
The less than symbol flips to a greater than symbol because we multiplied by a negative. And then it's going to stay that greater than symbol. When you multiply or divide by a negative, it flips that center inequality symbol.
I have to start that.
So take a minute, probably maybe 90 seconds. You may work with a partner close by you. Try to solve the got it on your own to undo what is happening to G to get it by itself. If you're confused, stick up a hand so I can please help.
Wait, how would
So what was happening? I was about to say, yeah, make sure to have a pen. of pencil. So, put your multiplication symbols here so that we look back here and you can see that. We want to think about what's going on with the variable right now and how to what's currently holding the negative 3.8 with the g. How are these attached? So our operations is what attaches us. It's either addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Those are all the basic numbers attached. So if this negative 3.8 is right up against the g, and they're right beside each other, what operation is that? Multiplication. So since these are being multiplied right now, we have to undo that. What's the reverse of multiplication? Division. So we're going to divide on this side, so draw your division line. And when you divide on that side, what I do on one side, I gotta do on both sides. So draw your division line under here and under that one. So we don't have to put the dots when we're doing the line, we're kind of setting up like a fraction, so we just draw a line up there. Your drawings are really good. Make sure you're not letting yourself get distracted. So that divide, when we divide, we want to get rid of that number, so that's what we divided by. So on the bottom, we're going to bring it back together and finish this all together. You are very welcome. So Brady, when you look at this, what's currently happening to your G?
It is. I need help with this, but it's being multiplied.
Yeah, what holds these together right now is multiplication. Acacia, I love that you're helping Leah because she just got back, but your card came up. How do I undo multiplication? What's its inverse operation? Division. So that tells you I'm going to divide on this side and divide on this side, and we just draw our division lines. With me? So then I put a negative 3.8 on bottom because that's the number that we want to get rid of. So then, if I, Ella, divide by a negative, what's the first thing I should write down in my next step? The first thing you write down is the inequality symbol. Because when you divide by a negative, an alarm should go off in your head and be like, yo, flip that thing. So we flip this around to less than or equal. Now do the math for everything else. If you don't write this down first, you're going to forget to flip it. I've seen it happen every single year. Write it down first so you remember that that needs to flip. So my left side becomes just G, and my right side, when I do that division,
you get
negative 8. Now my G is by itself, and I know G is less than or equal to negative 8. Casey?
When you said you were multiplying, did you mean when we had the negative 3.8
Like,
next to the G?
yeah, what is holding these together is multiplication. Because when you have a number right up against a variable, that's multiplication. Even though the number's negative, that's a negative number, not a subtraction. Any other questions? Great question.
Can we do another problem?
For sure.
Just want to make sure
I
think I do. I just want to make sure.
So we are going to kind of speed round with these. But I'm just going to go through cards. So, not here. Riley, when I look at negative 3a greater than 27, what holds negative 3 with a? What operation holds those together? Multiplication. What operation would undo that or be the inverse? Division. So everybody on your papers show that we divide by negative 3, divide by negative 3. That's going to make me flip my inequality. You should have, were you here yesterday?
Yeah.
You should have these. I handed them out at the end of class. There's a 9-2 notes.
Oh, this is 9-2.
When I do that, the first thing I write down is the inequality symbol. Because we divided by a negative. This should set off an alarm in your head. I flip my inequality symbol, and I get that A is less than negative 9.
Is it only when you divide by a negative?
Or multiply by a negative. But it's when the operation you're doing, multiplication or division, is negative.
If it doesn't have a sign, you just don't use a sign.
Right, so like, we'll see the middle one, there's no negative involved, we don't flip anything. So we'll get to that. Carolyn, what is holding in my next one, my A with my -3? Division. So to undo that, we multiply. So on both sides, show that we multiply by -3 and multiply by -3, but that should set off an alarm. We're using a negative. I flip this and I write that down first. A is now by itself. -3 times -3 gives me +9. A is greater than +9. Leah, when I look at my middle one here, 3A is less than 27. How's that 3 attached with the A? Multiplication. So to undo that, what do we want to do? We want to divide. We divide by 3 on both sides. Divide by 3. Divide by 3. Now, do I flip my inequality here? There's a question mark in your voice. What makes me flip my inequality? Why did I mark the other ones with stars? The negative. Are we operating with a negative here? No. So my inequality stays the direction that it is, and I get A is less than 9. Please make sure that we're writing down all these examples, because these are very similar to the homework problems that you're going to see. Like, very.
I'm just glad it's not the elephant one.
I forget if it was Mr. Estes or who it was, but somebody used to joke that they have a policy that if you're late to class and you bring food, you have to bring us some.
No, just Brady.
I'm joking, dude. But for real, I haven't had breakfast, so it's kind of rude that you show up late and you're chomping down on food.
Wow.
It's all right. Zion, we skipped you while you weren't here. In my fourth one here, how is A attached with the 3?
Like, wait, what?
It's by division.
By division, right? How do we undo division? Multiplication. So on both sides, show that my blue doesn't really show up on top of that purple. Show that we multiply by 3, and we multiply by 3. Do I flip my inequality here? So the question is, did we operate, did what we did, was that with a negative number?
No.
No. So we don't flip the inequality symbol, and my right side just becomes 9. So great question. Do you want to just do this with me? I'll help you. We'll talk through it together. So Aiden kind of just volunteered himself for this. So Aiden, how's the 3 attached with the A? How do we undo that? So I divide by 3 and divide by 3. What I'm doing, is that using the negative? No. This number on top is negative, but that's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is the division by 3. That's not negative. My inequality stays the same direction that it was.
So it has
It's the number that I'm operating with. So I divided by 3. It's not the what did I divide by 3, it's what am I using. So here we divided by negative. Here we multiplied by negative. So both of those we flipped it. But here we divided by positive, don't flip anything. Here we multiplied by positive, don't flip anything. Here we have a negative divided by positive. What we did was division by positive, so we don't flip. We get A, sorry, that looks like 9. We get A is less than -9. Any questions on any of these 5? You should reference this set in your notes as you're doing your homework. I'm serious. Like, it will help you immensely because it's what you're doing. So when I tell you that you should be writing your work down, that helps activate your brain of what am I doing to both sides? I used a negative. I used a negative. Positive, positive, positive. Even though this top number is negative, what I did was positive. Question?
Are we gonna do the got it?
Of course.
We gotta do the got it.
Now, this got it relates back to something that a few of us are still struggling on in the equation solving. I got most of your tests graded last night, but I did not actually get to the point of like mastery, progressing, that whole sort of thing. So you will get those back on Monday. Sorry, I stayed up till 11 and was then falling asleep. So
That's
I
Monday.
get to Tuesday, which is great because I have an extra day.
Yeah.
Oh, if you guys are bored on Monday, I'm working at Lifetime with the Rockwall. If you want to come see me.
Oh.
So we have 1/12 B less than or equal. I'm going to rewrite it so I have space to work. If I was you, I would rewrite it over here. We're not going to do a lot of work, so you don't need a ton of space. But this is just too close for me to really fit in what I'm going to do. I'll take a volunteer on this. How do we get a fraction to turn into 1? Because what I want for my answer is what 1b relates to. Brady, I'm pretty sure your hand was up first. How do we get a fraction into 1?
Well, so you have to like flip the thing, so you have to go like 12 over 1 divided by 1/12. That's how you go for fraction. Is that not?
Divided by?
Oh, division. It's just like 1/12 divided by.
No, you said divided by, so I'm asking divided by?
Oh, multiplied. Sorry.
So what am I doing? So sum it up, one statement. How do I cancel any fraction out to a 1?
12 over 1.
That any fraction, not this specific
Oh.
fraction.
Just
Any
you
fraction.
flip like the number on the bottom.
What's it called when you flip it? Do you need to phone a friend?
I will phone you. Okay, so you multiply by its recipient.
Multiply by its reciprocal.
Oh yeah.
Any fraction, when you multiply by the reciprocal, the values on top and bottom cancel each other out. The values on top and bottom cancel each other out. So we get 1b. Did we operate with a negative? No, what I did was with a positive. So over here, well, 1 times 12 is 12. 12 times 1 is 12. This just becomes 1. So we get b is less than or equal to 1.
Couldn't we just write B?
Yeah, you do not need the 1. I put this here to reinforce that all of this is to get a 1. That's why we multiply by the reciprocal, is to get a 1. We don't need to write it, but that's why we do it. If half of a number is less than 100, what's the possible value? So I want you to think for a second. Don't write any math, don't do anything. Just think to yourself. If half a number is less than 100, what could that number be? Just think. Then, I don't want to hear any of your answers yet. Then let's write this out and do the math to see if what you thought was correct. So we have half a number, and you're probably going to write down here, but I don't like crouching, so I'm going to write up here. Half a number is less than 100. No, not or equal. It just says less than, so it's not or equal. There's no or equal there. Derek, what would I do to my half to turn it into a 1? What do I do to this fraction to kind of get rid of it? Multiply by 2. And here, we're going to technically think of it as 2 over 1. But when I come over this side, I can just think of it as a 2. Because putting it over 1 isn't going to change anything. My number... Now here's the thing. Who thought of their number as 200? 200 is not right. 200 is my reference number. Because n has to be less than 200. So if I were to graph this, I would put, and it doesn't matter if I have any other numbers, I can put my 200 on my number line. Somebody talk me through how I graph this. We talked about it yesterday. How do I graph this inequality? What are my steps? Josh?
You go backwards.
So first step is, you're way ahead. You're like on step 4. Ellie? Place the dot. Aiden, what's step 2? See if I shade it. Do I shade it? I do not have the or equals. I do not shade it. Ellie? Then I shade on the line going the direction my inequality tells me. Any questions remaining from this lesson? Get out either your math notebook, if you still have track of that. You can get out your binder and put those notes away. I would like to try something that I never have before since we have 10 minutes left. I do not want to start the new lesson.
Did we work today?
No, I mean, I don't know if I'll make it to the next lesson in the other class or not. I can see exactly when you open the homework assignment. It timestamps. I can see exactly how long you work on it. I have all of that data, so I know when you're straight up ignoring what I'm telling you to do. This is not good for your learning when you just let things go and then come to class not knowing what you don't know. The smartest people know what they don't know. Can you put that away and get our sheet of paper like I asked, please? I'm standing up here talking about people not listening to directions, and you are blatantly not listening to directions. We are going to solve some of your homework problems for you to make your life easier. I'm trying to do your homework for you.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, like, I don't know who would be opposed to that. So, this is one problem that throws some people off sometimes. If one, and I was talking about hydration, this plays right in. If a 12-ounce can of soda contains at least 120 calories, how would I write that as an inequality? Soda contains at least 120. Well, I know that I'm going to have soda and 120, but how will they relate then? Carolyn? Greater than or equal to, because it could have 120, or it could have more. But now it asks me, write an inequality to represent the calories in 3 cans of soda. Guys, there were problems like this on the Chapter 8 test with 3 buses, or 2 snowmobiles, or things where I give you a reference of 1. If we're going to look at 3 cans of soda, what do I need to do? Kayla?
Well, you put 3 on to the S and then divide it by 3. Because
So you just told me put 3 onto the S.
Both sides.
If I put 3 onto the S, what else do I have to do?
gotta put divide 1.
I have to do the exact same thing.
Multiply it.
So we gotta multiply it. So this then becomes 3 sodas will have greater than or equal to 360. I'm going to skip number 2 because it is pretty much identical to number 1. This is how people used to try to spell my name when they call me, and they're like,
Oh yeah, let's take that.
So, yeah, so my spelling, M-I-C-A-H, comes out of the Bible. It's a prophet. And a book in the Bible. Yeah, my parents are very religious. So if Micah, not me, had 12 videotapes, if you guys even know what those are, and she bought X new tapes. So she had, then she bought, and now it says she now has over 15. What inequality symbol am I going to use to represent that we are over 15 tapes? Right? The greater than. How many did she have? 12. How many did she buy? X. We don't know, but that's got to be greater than 15. Now I'm going to stop there because the only thing you have to do to finish this out is isolate that variable. So you would need, and guys, if I was writing this down, like what you should be doing is marking that this is question 3, because when you go to do your homework, You've already got half of question 3 done. Oh, and by the way, if you didn't see, now on Schoology, there's a folder at the very top of our materials page that just says completed class notes, PDFs. So anything that goes up on the TV will end up in that folder as a PDF file. So if it happened during class, it'll be in that file. The videos are in the folders, in the individual folders. Anyone that's tried this, is there a specific problem that you had issues on that we could go over together and help your classmates?
Not really.
So you tried this, right? Didn't you submit an attempt? I can't remember exactly. Okay. Let's look at 5. So this is a nice word problem. An electrician drives 8 miles round trip each day to her job. It's pretty short. She can travel 300 miles before she needs to refill her car with gas. She's already driven 100 miles. Write an inequality that gives the number of days until she has to fill up with gas. Let's highlight what we know. 8 miles round trip. What's it mean to be round trip? Zion, do you know?
Like, so like long, like round trip. Yeah, the electrician has to go a long way.
This is why I asked the question, because I know some of us probably don't know it. Piper?
No.
Yeah, you go there and back. A round trip just means that you come back to where you started. It doesn't actually mean that it's round. So this is a misnomer. All it means is complete. You went there and you came back. So then she can travel 300. Now, does she have to travel 300? No. So my travel, the first thing you want to write down for question 5 is we could travel equal to 300. Could I travel more than 300 without getting gas? No. I'm going to run out. Be stuck on the side of the road. So I could travel less than or equal to 300. Now, when we look at our travel, I still have some more to highlight. What else needs highlighted here? Casey? She already drove 100 miles. And the only other thing is pretty minor. They tell us what variable to use. D. So when we talk about her travel, she already went 100. And then, what would I use?
D. Yeah.
What about D? How much per day?
8.
8 per day, right?
You also probably want
A tiny little shift to this, and you've got your right answer. I did not give it to you in the exact form, so you need to make a tiny little shift. And we got time for one more.
Wouldn't she probably want to save a couple miles so she could drive from her way to the gas station?
Yeah.
How many questions are on this?
Like 14, 15, something like that. Yeah, 15.
Wait, was that like question we did number 5?
Yes. If we look, I didn't make any really hard ones here. If we look at like question 8. If I have 2x minus 5 is greater than 7. So on your paper, you should write down 2x minus 5 greater than 7. Olivia, if I want to start solving this, what would be the first thing that I would do? Now, that's what a lot of people have been making a mistake with. Guys, when we solve these things, we're working the order of operations backwards. So if you set up a PEMDAS ladder on your paper, we're going up. So do I need to do any addition subtraction? Yeah, that's got to happen first. So what addition or subtraction would I need to do? So if it has a -5, I need to undo that. And we add 5. We're always inverse operations. That will give me 2x is greater than 12. And you just need to make one other step to get to your solution. And this is question 8. If you want to mark that on that paper, use these to help you as you're working on your homework this weekend. Thank you guys very much. We'll dive into 9-3 on Tuesday. You have a 3-day weekend, which means your homework should be done when you get back on Tuesday.
No excuses.
Have a good weekend.